here's the other big form of balance. And I touched on this earlier, but what you're eating throughout the day, basically, here's the other part of this, okay, is you want to be eating alkalizing foods, cleansing foods. These are going to be especially your fruits, okay, and vegetables, but like your fruits especially. But here's the other issue, is that the more cleansing and detoxifying a food is, then the more of a challenge that it is to focus intensely on like a proper job of, quote, work, and so now this could also depend on your vocation. If you're a dancer, if you're an artist, then maybe you can just drink vegetable juice all day and eat fruits, and it's great because it puts you in the flow. If you're an accountant, or something, then it might be hard to focus if you're eating these types of foods, and you get into just this spiritual, energetic state. So now for me, I got a job as a salesperson, and by the way, I hated sales. I had no intention to be in sales. In fact, I was tricked by a recruiter who got me to go to this interview and told me it wasn't a sales job. And then the guy who was interviewing it was like, look, you don't have a pot to piss in, you don't have a window to throw it out of, you're totally desperate, you're basically a bum, just why don't you just do this job anyways? Like, what else are you gonna do? And I was just like, oh my God. So I started to do this type of work. Well, and I hung in there with it, basically. And at the same time, over the course of these years, I was also, and by the way, I got a different job. So that first job was absolutely horrible, but I did get another job that was better. But, I was detoxing this whole time. I was trying to heal myself and everything. And basically working with customers, with they're being difficult, they're complaining, they're negotiating, you're trying to figure out their goals, you're trying to put things together, you're having to do intense research, having to coordinate between different departments, and trying to keep everything organized, not forgetting about certain stuff that you need to follow up on, different projects, different phases, and trying to solve logistical problems. Okay, all of this is very mentally demanding and takes a lot of intellectual bandwidth to just function smoothly. So, and this could be true for a lot of different jobs. Maybe you're a school teacher. Maybe, I don't know. But, now if you're just, so again, it's a type of job where you have to deal with other people that can be demanding. And what I noticed was that if I would just eat very cleansing foods like vegetable juice, fruit juice, grapes, orange, pineapples, these are foods that are all very astringent, hydrating, and cleansing, but it would be overwhelming. If I was in these high pressure situations, I would not function at my best. So this is another form of balance in terms of performance. And I did make some sacrifices in terms of what I was eating. And I did shy away from the most cleansing foods I could have been eating. And so that was sort of a sacrifice in a form of balance. So I would eat more salad-like meals, which would be like avocados, a lot of avocado, maybe some olives, and high fat, coconut. These things sort of grounded me, and they gave me a more sustained, kind of slow burning energy. And that allowed me to work at a very high level. So I hope this is helpful for you, because if you're in that setting and you're like, oh my gosh, I just can't eat grapes or a fruit smoothie because it's making me crazy at work, go to your more salad-like meals, and try to figure out whether it's avocado, maybe nut butter, or nuts and seeds, or maybe olives, or maybe like coconut flour or coconut wraps, something that's more grounding, or maybe vegetables, you know, and that's going to give you more of a groundingness and feel more full. And, you know, and actually, this was actually a very high performance way of eating anyways. And I was actually running circles around my colleagues who were eating sandwiches and, you know, whatever else. And so my productivity increased and my income increased. And ultimately, due to this, I moved into a new place of living. Now this place, which is where I am now, actually, it's beautiful. It's nestled in nature, and it's just this amazing kind of oasis, and it's a great healing place, and it's given me much healing and revelation. And so, because I've made sacrifices of my cleansing and detox, and I ate foods which were less cleansing and less detoxing, it put me in a better state financially, where I could then put myself in an environment that was more healing, more cleansing. And so the higher income brought me more balance in terms of more healing indirectly. So you see that all this is interconnected, and the pendulum kind of has swung back and forth. So